that I realized that, I'm not watching Jacob deGrom here. I was really looking forward to it. And, by the way, Garrett Cole pitched really well last night, too. So, he's back. Seems like he's back on track. That's 2 strong outings back-to-back now. And DJ LeMahieu has 3 more hits. Guy's just a hitting machine. He's really amazing. But, we've been on Porcello and Wacha and these guys on the Mets side of things. And Wacha did a hell of a job last night. He came in and he shut the door and he gave the Mets a chance to come back and win the ball game. And they did. So I don't think they're going anywhere. And then they're telling us that it's just a spasm in the hamstring for Jacob deGrom. I don't know where that comes from or why that happens. Maybe he wasn't getting enough fluids. Maybe he should have gotten fluids in between innings or something like that. But it probably, and even Gary said it last night on the broadcast, it probably takes away the opportunity to win a third Cy Young. I just three runs in an inning, just all of a sudden, kind of balloon your ERA a little bit, and he goes from the top of the pack to a third or fourth or wherever he is now. And it's unfortunate because he only has 2 more starts, and we really needed and he really needed for personal reasons, a really good start last night, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, and of course, this season will always be looked at differently with this award. I think that 2 back-to-back Cy Young awards in real seasons will still be heralded forever. If he had 3, that would have been a nice little thing, but he's still got a long way to go in his career, and let's hope that we even see him in those last 2 starts, because maybe they end up shutting him down, because what the hell is the point right now with the New York Mets, quite frankly, in my eyes. But I'd like to see him healthy, because that's really the only thing that you have with them right now to watch is the greatness of Jacob deGrom. Outside of that, my attention is elsewhere in sports in New York, because we've got the Yankee team that is doing what they're doing, and we got an opportunity here for the Islanders to tie up a series tonight as well against Tampa Bay in a Game 6. So those things to me right now are capturing my attention a little bit more than this floundering Mets team that is going to look completely different next year.
Yeah, and then as we kind of look forward into the fall, obviously we still have the Jets and the Giants, and the Jets are going to host San Francisco without Richard Sherman and most likely without George Kittle, so they catch a little bit of a break right there. However, Le'Veon Bell's out for them. I don't know how much of a loss that really is. He hasn't done much since he's been here. And then the Giants, of course, go on the road to see the Chicago Bears. The thing about the Mets that we have to look forward to is new ownership and Steve Cohen and what he's going to do. And if he doesn't blow it up and doesn't clean house, and all these people around him are trying to be his friend and everything else, we're going to get stuck in the same malaise again. Although I'm sure that Brody would like to have unfettered access to as much money as he possibly can to add as many new free agents to this team as he possibly could. I think the real winner here is going to be whoever the next general manager is, if it's Brody or if it's Omar Minaya or anybody from the internal aspect of the Mets right now or somebody from the outside. They're going to be able to go out and spend money. I would imagine that's going to be Steve Cohen's initial foray into this. But, they got to change a manager. They got to get a real manager in here. I was rooting for Luis Rojas, and, you never know when you obviously see a guy that's going to come in and you know that he's got baseball in his blood and his background and everything else. But the way the Mets play baseball, the way they look on the field, the way they run the bases, the way that just the whole thing just kind of feels like it fell flat on its face this year, and they have just made so many stupid mistakes and have lost all essence of the fundamentals of the game. And you can hear it in Keith's sighs and Ronnie's, you could hear it every freaking game. And that really comes back down to the manager holding people accountable. And I just don't know if a young Luis Rojas, who knows these guys, obviously, a lot of these guys from the minors and everything else, can actually impart that part of the game on those players. And you remember when Mickey Callaway got here, and the first thing he said, we're going to love our players, and I was like, oh, God, how this is just going to make me ill, and we're going to watch how they play baseball. And really, even under him, they did a lot of the same stupid things. They need somebody in here that actually is going to hold players accountable and put their finger down on them when they do make a mistake, and not be afraid to pull a guy out of a game if in fact that happens. And I know during a season in any sport, it's a long season, and you got to really pick your spots when you are the manager or the head coach to make a statement and to really get across to your players what is expected of you and what we are asking you to do and what we expect you to do. And running into outs, getting picked off, dropping balls, can't turn double plays, can't get a key hit in a big spot. I mean, there's been so many, not only say crazy, but just things that are unforced errors that the Mets have done that go back to the feet of the manager. So I don't know. If I'm Steve Cohen, I'm blowing the whole thing up and I'm starting over and I'm getting legitimate guys in there. And I want people that are going to, and I'm not saying these guys don't take their job seriously, but have a reputation of being hard asses. And, that's what I want. Joe Judge is a hard ass. You could say whatever you want about, his press conferences and all this other crap, but restarting practice and being a serious coach, he comes off as a hard ass. And I kind of like that. I kind of like, when a coach or a manager is like that. That's Barry Trotz. That's what he comes off as. I think that's what David Quinn comes off as. I really do. I don't know. I'm not really sure about Adam Gase totally because it's been shrouded in so much, chatter around him and everything else. And then, of course, Christopher Johnson comes out yesterday and has this glowing, retort to all the fans.
Yeah, why let's just talk about that for a second. Because why did he feel the need to do that? Because I know that the criticism that he heard, and this is probably how it went. These guys are getting crushed after one game. I hear the stuff. I hear, is Sam the guy? I hear that Adam Gase isn't going to make it, through the season. So I'm going to make sure that I go out and I give the owner a vote of confidence to calm that stuff down. But really, all that does is just continue the conversations that he is hoping to stop. Because when you throw something out, even if you fully believe it, that you throw the word out brilliant about a head coach that the fan base can't stand, then it's just going to create more and more negative headlines for the franchise. So, to me, there's just zero positive outcome with Christopher Johnson coming out and saying great things about the head coach and the player right now. As an owner, you don't need to say any of that stuff.
Yeah,
I don't have to say a word.
I don't know why, but I will say this. That, Joe and I had our little tit for tat yesterday morning and all that other stuff, and it was fine. We see things a little bit differently because it's only 1 week into the season. And I told Joe, come on back after the season's over, and then we can discuss and we can evaluate everything that's gone on. And then that's when decisions will be made. But I do think that, for whatever reason, Joe does have an extremely, I think, large following when it comes to his feelings about the Jets. And one of the things that he said about the Jets yesterday morning, to us anyway, was ownership, and he talked about Leon Hess, and then he talked about Woody Johnson, and then he started talking about Christopher Johnson and how, this whole decision-making process, it's the wrong decision and all that other stuff. So I'm sure a lot of that, because of the social media and because of the guys that cover the team and write about the team and the NFL Network and everything else, that it's blaring in the face of the owner. So I guess Christopher probably felt like he might as well come out there as quickly as he possibly can and try to put all of this stuff to rest. But I don't necessarily know that he sees it the way that you do, that it just compounds the problem with the words that he uses to describe his coach to a fan base who can't stand the coach.
Right. Well, that's the thing. And I think that I would hope that you would agree with my side of things on that, because that's exactly the way it goes. I mean, especially when the opinions of the owner from the fan base are what they are as well. I don't know. If I was someone who was advising him and he came to me and said, I would like to do this, I would like to say these things, I think this is a good time to do it, I would respectfully say, can I just give you my side of the story on this right now and try to explain to him that there's really no point in doing it, because everybody is pissed off. You still are on the heels of this loss. You got another tough game coming in this weekend, tough team coming in this weekend. Nothing is going to satisfy this fan base that you're going to say. Like, think about a Jet fan, like take Joe or anybody else. Fred in Uniondale, who is so annoyed. Right, who is so annoyed at his team. And then, thinking that, reading the quotes from Christopher Johnson going, I was really down on this team, but now that Christopher Johnson says that Adam Gase is brilliant and he believes that Sam Darnold is the guy, I feel so much better about that ass-kicking that the Bills gave us. And this season is going to be great, and this franchise is going to be great. You're not going to convince these guys. So it's a nice gesture because you like the guys that you hired, you like your quarterback, but all it does is make us talk about it again today. That's all it does, right? In the same conversation, just going and going and going. It's not smart.
Well, it's like I said to Joe yesterday. Look, man, I'm never going to change your mind, and I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just trying to say it's week one. Adam Gase has coached 17 NFL games for the New York Jets. And then you want to look back, and many Jet fans want to look back to the past, and they want to look back at what they I guess they deem failure down in Miami. Meanwhile, he did take his team to the playoffs with Matt Moore as their quarterback because Ryan Tannehill could never stay healthy. Don't you remember the questions about Ryan Tannehill to Adam Gase? And he goes, "I'm sick and tired of talking about that guy." And the reason for that is because he was talking always about injuries. So, I don't know. My point is let's just try to be realistic and practical as opposed to over emotional and just realize that there's a long way to go. It may not end up good. And you and I are predicting that it's not going to end up good, that it's going to be a tough year for the Jets and that it's going to be a tough year for the Giants. And fans are going to be disgusted week in and week out. It's like Giant fans were happy because they saw something from Daniel Jones. We all did. And you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be, a former quarterback to see it. You could just watch it and you can see it, that he'll stand in the pocket and he will throw the ball accurately and he will put it on the line, and his arm is more than strong enough to make every single throw in the NFL. And his touchdown pass to Darius Slayton down the middle of the field is exactly how you draw it up. You couldn't draw it up any better, and you couldn't be any more perfect. So we all saw that. But however, the Giant fan is going to get sick and tired of watching their team, not be able to generate a pass rush. They're going to be sick and tired of watching their team playing man coverage in the red zone and watching opposing teams pick them apart when they get into those situations. Everybody's going to say, why are they playing man coverage? I mean, because, you got to change things up. You can't just play the same thing over and over and over. So, I mean, there's going to be very frustrating days for these football teams moving forward as they try to come out of the abyss of losing that they have been stuck in over the last 4 or 5 years. It's not going to be an easy process. And really, for the most part, Judge is here 1 year. Douglas and Gase have been here for a year. It's going to, or 2 years. This will be their second year. But it's going to take time before these teams get any good. That's all there is to it, because they're all trying to restart their culture.
Right. And, of course, the Giants losing more games than any other team in football over the last 3 years and being embarrassed by that and making changes with Shermer to Judge and really not tolerating it anymore. I mean, they're going to want to see results quickly. And there are teams that find ways to either keep this success going or are able to rebuild relatively quickly. And the Arizona Cardinals were in a situation where, I mean, my goodness, now I don't know how good they'll be this year. They obviously had a nice week 1 win, and Kyler Murray looks like a star. And they got DeAndre Hopkins now. But they were in a situation where, every year they were competing, and they had, Bruce Arians as the coach, and then they sort of fell apart there for a year, with a coach and a quarterback and a first-round draft choice, and they screwed it up, and they were able to come back the next year with a new coach, a new quarterback, be a really competitive team, and end up this year having some expectations. I think with Jet and Giant fans, they look around the league, and there's other teams that are really bad. I mean, the Cleveland Browns can never get out of their own way, but they look around the league and they see teams that are either sustaining success, through many years, whether it be, listen, I can't stand my team, but they always seem to be like right there and winning games and being able to be
they got it right with Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, so stuff like that, right? And you look around the Pittsburgh Steelers; they're never really down a lot because they've had a great quarterback for a while. So there's other situations you can point to where Jet and Giant fans say, I mean, we don't have to be this bad for that long. It shouldn't have to be that way, but it seems to be that way, that we have been this bad for that long. So when is that going to change?
So I would say, like, you look at the San Francisco 49ers, all right, and they lost in the conference, I guess it was back in 2013, they were 12-4. And then Harbaugh had one more year left. They went 8-8, and then he and Trent Baalke were going at each other, and Harbaugh ended up leaving, and they hired Tom Sula. Then they brought in Chip Kelly, and then they brought in Shanahan. And Shanahan's first 2 years out there were 6-10 and 4-12. In the 4-12 season in 2018 is where Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. Right. And they're playing with three different quarterbacks. They go 4-12. And this is 2 years into a 6-year deal for him and John Lynch. And they're drafting and they're trading and they're trying to sign players. And they felt like go all in on Jimmy Garoppolo and all that other stuff. And they were, like I said, they were basically 10-22 the first 2 years, 17 and 18. And then they went 13-3 last year, and they got to the Super Bowl. Now they started 0-1 this year. They're still a good team, but the point being is that from 2013 to 2018, they were not a good team. They basically went 12-4, 8-8, 5-11, 2-14, 6-10, 4-12. Kind of like where the Giants are right now.
Yeah, you know what though, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm gonna have to go back and look at these games, but I remember even that year that the Niners were really bad and Garoppolo got hurt, and we were talking about C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins.
Right.
That they were competitive, like even in those games. Like they just had a different feel about them as opposed to a couple of games that we've seen from the Jets and Giants the last couple of years. Like sort of like what we saw from the Giants on Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That type of thing where you feel like they're coming out of it. I mean, how many of these efforts have we screamed about with the Jets, whether it be against the Patriots in the Ghost game or the Bengals game, the only game that the Bengals won last year, or any one of the Todd Bowles disasters where you felt like they were winning going to start a winning streak and then they'd lay an egg. It's like so many of those things that you can point to. And I remember George Kittle sort of emerged in that year too, even with C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins. It felt like something was happening. And you said when they get Garoppolo back, man, this team maybe could do something, at the end of that year. And that's, I think, what you need from these franchises at the end of this year is, wow, they showed us life. There is a pulse there. I've got something to look forward to. And here the Jets last year, who actually had a good second half, go into this year. They got their two best defensive players gone for one reason or another, one trade and the other opting out. They still have issues with their running back. They have a wide receiver leave in free agency. And they're just, here we are again. And in week one, they get smacked around. So it's like any momentum that gets built with the Jets, you always feel like it comes crashing down to earth.
Well, but my point is that they're still in the middle of a major rebuild. And, this general manager and this coach had to inherit the last general manager's decisions. Just like, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan had to inherit the previous general manager's decisions and the owner's decisions. And, they were coming out of all the Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reid stuff. I mean, it was basically a total rebuild, and that's why they got 6-year contracts. That's why Joe Douglas got a 6-year contract here. He knew that there were going to be growing pains. And by the way, he didn't select Sam Darnold. He didn't select, 3/4 of this team. Sure. I mean, he's still navigating through, whatever Mike Maccagnan left behind. And some of it's going to be good. So, maybe Sam Darnold will be the lasting legacy for Mike Maccagnan. We're still not at that point to decide whether or not that's the case. And to prove my point in that regard is the Bears and what the Bears are trying to do with Mitch Trubisky. Now, most Bear fans will tell you he sucks. And I'll tell you, maybe he does, but he wants to be the quarterback. He's serious. He wants to do it. It means everything in the world to him, which is a big thing in today's NFL.
Yeah.
Do you have a guy who's serious about the position and wants to play it? And everybody's looking for that guy. I think Sam Darnold is that guy, and I think Daniel Jones is that guy. I think they're both really serious about what they're doing, but there are going to be growing pains, man, and there are going to be games like he played in week one, and that's why coming out of week one, everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of the headlines and the stories that were coming from that game were, now you really got to worry about Sam Darnold because he had one bad game.
Yeah, well, he needs to see another game like the Cowboys last year with Sam Darnold and the Jets where they weren't supposed to win and they won it, or they played really well in a game where they were a heavy underdog, something like that. Those are the type of moments that we need to see from the Jets, so it's not so damn predictable.
Well, we saw some of it last year when they beat the Cowboys. Late in the year, they started to play better, more consistent. That Bengal game still, I'm sure, haunts everybody over there. That was a game that they needed to win. But, of course, that was the game that Andy Dalton had to come back in and play for the Bengals and show everybody that he still had a lot left. So
yeah, you could smell that one.
Right. Absolutely, you could smell that one. But I just kind of think, and it's like the last thing fans want to hear is patience, preach patience. I'm telling you, I'm living it myself with two of my teams. One is the New York Rangers, where, 2 years ago they said they're getting rid of everybody. I hated that. I had season tickets. I said, are you going to give me a refund for the team now I'm watching because it's basically an AHL team? Or, and I was ticked off about it. But as I see what they are doing, I am more excited as a fan than ever before about the future of my team because I think I have smart guys making decisions. I like the decisions. We got a couple of breaks with the second overall pick 2 years ago, and now we get the first pick this year. I mean, we got a couple breaks here. That's what you need as a team and as a franchise. And, I don't necessarily know that the Jets have had their breaks yet. I think, however, you got to trust the guys that are in the positions. You can't start saying fire these people a year or two into their tenure unless they are completely in over their head and they have no idea what they're doing. And I don't think anybody thinks that's the case.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.